Thank you for taking the time this evening to come and join us. As you know, we've obviously got the Honda Repsol team in town for the MotoGP this weekend, and they've given us the opportunity, taking time out of their busy schedule to come and spend some time with us tonight. I'd like to welcome Livio Sippo, who's the Marketing and Communications Director of the Honda Repsol team. And as I think you know, Nakamoto-san was supposed to be here as well, but unfortunately he got stuck in Japan. So I'm going to hand it over to Livio, and basically he'll just say a few words, and then we'll take questions, and you know, we'll do some of the raffles later as well. So again, thank you for joining us, and I'll hand over to Livio. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello everybody. First of all, thank you very much to Damascus to organize this event. And I'm sorry, Nakamoto-san. And yesterday there was a big typhoon in Japan, so more than 500 flights have been cancelled. One was one of Mr. Nakamoto. Probably it's better to cancel before than during. So it's a bit here. He's not here, but he will arrive tomorrow morning. Anyway, we are here. This is, if I'm not wrong, it's the 9th time we come here in Qatar for the race. And since quite a long time we do it in the night, so it's very, very good for us. It's a very special experience, especially for us, since Casey is in the team, Casey Stoner is in the team. Casey is a kind of specialist of the circuit. He won many, many times. Since 2007 until last year, he won always except in 2010 when he crashed. So he has a quite strong record here. Last year he won the race here in Qatar and he won the title. So let's hope again this season we can repeat something like that. I don't know how much experience you have with MotoGP, but of course MotoGP is a kind of a Formula 1 on two wheels. Our bike this year we changed the rules, and there are 1000cc bikes instead of 800. It means the power now is close to 240, 250 horsepower. Is a big challenge for the engineers because still the bike keep a tank of 21 liters only. It means they have to do all the race with only 21 liters. It's quite difficult with all that power. So it's a good school to develop a system for fuel consumption that is quite important nowadays, especially in you are quite lucky here that the fuel is quite cheap, but in Europe now it's crazy. It's almost in Italy, in some area of Italy, and I'm from Italy, is almost €2 per liter. So you can imagine it's becoming more and more important to think about something to decrease the fuel consumption. Anyway, so these bikes are quite fast. In some circuits they can reach about 330, 340 km per hour. The weight is 157 kilos this year. They add 4 kilos from last year. And now we have 21 riders on the grid, of which 12 are on full prototypes, so others on the new called CRT, means our bike with the engine derived from production. One of the bike has this engine, the CBR 1000, tuned, and with the chassis that is a prototype chassis. So somebody say it will be the future of MotoGP, because nowadays the cost of the prototype are quite difficult to cover for sponsors. So maybe this will be the future of MotoGP, but anyway, at the moment there's still 12 full prototypes, and we run 4 of them here. So it's a challenging season. There will be, for sure, Jorge Lorenzo last year was second on the Yamaha, and he won the title in 2009. It will be again the biggest competitor of Casey, but also in the same team there's Dani Pedrosa, that is last year was quite unlucky with an injuries in Le Mans, but still is potentially one of the champions. So we have 2 riders that will fight for the title. So let's hope it's a good season, especially let's hope there will be no more drama like it happened last year in Japan with Marco Simoncelli. He was one of our riders in the Sankaro team. And for people with passion for motorcycle, we all know it's a very dangerous sport, but of course when something like that happens, it's something impossible to forget. So Mark will be always in our heart. Having said that, I think if you have any question for us, I'm happy to reply with curiosity, because for me it's difficult to understand how much you know about my sport. So if you have any news, if you have any curiosity, please.
This, the 1 litre engine, is this, I think you need it probably. Yeah, the 1 litre engine, was this an all-new engine or was it a development of the 800?
It's a totally new engine. And again, especially for a company like Honda, when there's a change of rules, it's always an opportunity to develop new technology and to investigate new things. So it's a totally new engine.
Was there any connection at all with the road bike engine, or was it a completely prototype engine?
Completely prototype engine. The CBR 1000 is an inline engine. The HRC 213B is a V engine.
How do you see the future of the sport? You've got the World Superbike Series and MotoGP. As you said, there's a big problem with getting sponsorship for the huge sums of money required for the investment, research and development of prototype motorcycles. How do you see this panning out? Because if you're not careful, you're going to have two race series which are actually very similar.
I reckon is a very strange moment, let's say. The motorcycle market of sport bike is dropping down a lot year by year, and this will be a problem for sure for Superbike as well. The money around the world for sponsorship are going down. That's normal. So sure, something that I think all together with the FIM and the organizer and manufacturer, we should think more on a global base, not only on people that does MotoGP think about MotoGP, people that are racing in Superbike think about Superbike. So I think we should think more about the global motorcycle road racing. But at the moment it is almost impossible to replace, to give you the correct answer.
I guess we'll just have to see how it pans out. Is there any lasting effects of the tsunami on the HRC production? Because I understand there's lots of small manufacturers, Japanese manufacturers, that were quite severely affected by the tsunami.
You're right, but thanks God our engineers were able to manage this. So at the end of the day, during the season we had no problem. There was no problem with the production, especially of the car, less for the motorcycle, because there was a lot of electronic suppliers with big problems. So we had for the world, for many months, problem not only in Japan but also in UK or in Europe, or then there was in Thailand the big problem also. So last year was a tough season for Honda, especially for the car industries, but I think at the end of the season they were able to recover almost everything. So finally the season was less bad than expected.
Okay, last question, I'll let somebody else get in. A few of us that are very much fans of Andrea Dovizioso are very disappointed not to see him continue with Honda. Would you like to make a comment on that?
Well, sure. We offer him to stay with Honda in the Honda family on a satellite bike with the Lucio Tecnilo team. And then he personally chose to move to a Yamaha team in a satellite bike. So I think it was more, a rider is, once he has been in the factory team of a company, then probably doesn't accept to move back on a satellite team. And this is totally understandable from a human point of view. From our point of view, Dovi did a very good job in the season he was with us. But with all respect, he never really did the last step. And once you have riders like Casey and Danny that, honestly speaking, are able to win more races than Andrea, you have to choose. Money, you have a certain amount of money you have to choose, and with all respect for Dovi, again, the choice was to offer him to go to Lucio. He preferred to go to Tecroa. We respect his choice, but that's what we have to do.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any of the press? Any questions?
I think I know what it's called.
How many has a motorcycle here? You go on truck?
Yep.
Off-road, nobody off-road? In the desert must be good, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Saeed,
Okay, let's get-
Saeed Al-Salati.
How much is your lap record in 208 with the CBR 1000? With the standard tires or slick tires? Okay. 2:08. 2:08. 2 minutes, 8 seconds.
Quite respectable.
Okay.
Easy, right? Guess which time, Casey?
The whole race was
154.
1:55.
Well, Phil.
Yeah, but the bike is different, the tires are different, and Casey is Casey. Especially in this circuit, Casey for some reason is unbelievably fast. The first time we came here for the test in the night, after 1 hour, he was 3.5 seconds faster than anybody else. Because everybody else need to get used to ride with the artificial lights. Casey, first exit was already very fast. And he told me that was, yeah, you don't see, but you remember the circuit, so you don't have to be worried. But only him.
Another question. How is the problem with the dust on the track?
Sometimes can be very, very big problem, especially if it's windy. That's one of the reasons why we don't come here for the winter test. Because if there are few bikes on track, it's almost impossible to really clean it. During the race weekend, because there's 3 classes and many bikes on track, it's much easier. But still, if it's windy, it's a problem. Especially for, of course, it's more easy to crash, but also for the tires, it's much more difficult for the tires to last the whole race. Kind of operation.
How does Danny and Casey get on? Are they good friends? And is there a number 1 and number 2 in the team? Or can you tell us that?
France is a big word. But anyway, they have a lot of respect each other. They know each other since a very long time. They used to be 26 and 27 because they got that number when they were racing together in Telefonica Championship in Spain when they were kids. So they know each other since a long time. They know how strong is the other. Last year was let's say unfortunate what would happen to Danny. There was not really the possibility to have a real fight between them because almost beginning of season, Danny unfortunately was already out of the championship. Having said that, I don't think Danny would have, or Casey, they will help each other because they trust each other and they respect each other, but it's too much to ask to be friends and to be... There's not a number 1 or number 2. Danny has been clearly for many years number 1 in the team because that was the structure of the team before. Since Casey is there, clearly you cannot nominate number 1 or number 2 because they are 2 number 1 riders. They both won championship, they both can win races, they have a good chance to win the championship, both of them. I think at the moment, seriously speaking, there's 3 riders that can fight for the championship, is Danny, Casey and Jorge. If nothing strange, really strange happens. So once you have 2 riders like that together, you cannot call number 2 one of these.
So who's your tip out of those 3?
Sorry?
Who's your hot tip to succeed out of those 3?
And honestly speaking, out of these 3 is, I think, impossible to say. But not this year, always. Because it depends a lot on... all 3 can win. They all 3 are really, really fast. They have something more than the others in this moment, including Valentino, with all respect. And it depends on some luck. It depends on, this sport, you can get injuries so easily. The bike can have a problem. So honestly speaking, I think the level of Casey, Danny and Jorge is very similar. And I think before the start of the season is impossible to predict, honestly speaking.
Have you ridden a MotoGP bike?
I had a chance to ride too many years ago in 1995 an NSR 500 in Barcelona. That was really amazing. A MotoGP machine never.
It's a shame.
Even if I believe that with my capability of riding a road bike, it should be totally useless. I cannot understand anything. Already a CBR 1000 is too much for me. I think it's too much for most of the people anyway, this kind of road bike like that, because 180 horsepower now.
You mentioned Valentino. Obviously, we're going to talk about Honda, but He's obviously a legend in the sport. He seems to have fallen off the last kind of 2 years. He's just kind of nowhere at the moment. What do you think is going on with him?
Well, you know, he's stronger than before. That's a Honda.
That's Screamer.
That's 2012.
Valentino is Valentino. He has probably is one of, not probably, for sure is one of the biggest rider of the motorcycle history. Only Giacomo Agostini won more than him. Both Italians. Sorry. And yeah, since he's with Ducati, he's struggling a lot. But also the year before with the Yamaha was okay. He had the injury in Mugello, and he won a couple of races that year. So at that time, still looks to be still competitive to win. At the moment, seems impossible. So it's very, very difficult to say how much is the rider, how much is the bike, honestly speaking. For sure, Ducati has something less than Honda and Yamaha at the moment. It's easy to see how many races Casey won in 2010 and how many races Casey won in 2011 on a Honda. He won 3 races in 2010 on a Ducati and 10 races in 2011. So clearly, the Honda was better than a Ducati. Still, Casey was able to win, and Valentino did 1 podium in a lucky circumstance.
Yeah.
So, honestly, again, with all respect for Vale, if I was in Italy, I cannot speak like that because they kill me, but with all respect for Valentino, that has an unbelievable career. I think in the modern era, it's impossible somebody will replicate such a successful career. With all respect for what he has done before, until at this moment, I think, honestly, that Casey, Dani, and Jorge has something more. So I believe that probably also, even if he was riding a Honda or a Yamaha at the moment, still those 3 guys could be faster than him. Again, if in Italy they hear me, they kill me, but that's... You cannot pretend that you remain at the top forever. That's life.
What do you think about Stefan Bradl?
We really like him. Stefan Bradl is a German guy, won the Moto2 championship last year. Now he's riding a Honda with the RCR. We don't check in with him. I really believe he has a lot of potential. It's very, very good to see a Moto2 rider joining MotoGP and being reasonably fast like he has done this winter test, because Moto2 is a new class since a few years. And many people criticize this class, saying that it's not good as a school for riders. Honestly speaking, I don't think this is true. The riders are fast or not, depending on their talent, not on the school. Ben Spies comes from American Superbike, but he's very fast. Faster than people that come from 125 to 50, so traditionally the European way. I think in Europe, that is the country where MotoGP was born, most of the riders, if they love motorcycle, they go 125 to 50 and then MotoGP. So that's why it looks like it's a school. Again, Ben is a good example. Because he's American, and in America there's no 125 to 50 nowadays, he came from Superbikes, he was very fast. So I think Stefan can prove that it doesn't matter if you come from 250 or Moto2, you can do a good job in MotoGP. This world need a German, a French. We need one of the problems of MotoGP is the nationality of the riders being too much Spanish and Italians. This doesn't help us to grow up on an international base. If you look at Formula 1, they have drivers for almost everywhere. Basically because it's a little bit easier to put a driver on a car and do the job. Because in Formula 1 the car is much more important than the driver, while in MotoGP it's just the opposite. The bike is important, but the rider is much more important. So for us it's more difficult to find good riders around the world, and if you don't have the local hero, you will never become a strong sport in that country. So welcome a German guy, welcome a French guy, welcome a Qatarian guy, welcome an Indian, and it should be much, much more good for us.
Yeah, Livio, sorry, it's me again. At a time when budgets are under a lot of pressure, an awful lot of money is being spent on traction control and other so-called driver aids. There's a lot of people including myself, that actually think this detracts from the spectacle. But when we go to watch a bike, I like to see Gary McCoy sliding the bike around the track. That's to me, it's fabulous. That's what I go to see. I just don't think the amount of money which is being spent on traction control actually helps the sport, and it may lead to one-off faster lap times. What's your opinion on it? What do you think the future is for traction control?
Well, first of all, I honestly believe that traction control, more than for the speed, is good for the safety of the riders. Nowadays, we have less and less high-speed crashes that were the most dangerous one. And if you look at Casey last year, there's many images of Casey sliding with the bike. So it's
got the thing switched off.
No, Casey doesn't like too much to have a very aggressive traction control, so he keep it quite light, let's say. Still you can slide with this bike. It's more a question of tires, honestly, I think. And this tire is much more difficult to slide compared with the Dunlop McCoy were using. Anyway, the traction control, I think, is a good innovation, and honestly speaking, allowed, for example, also I've been working for Ducati 11 years. I know that without the MotoGP experience, for Ducati it would have been impossible to have the traction control on production bike. For Honda maybe it could be a little different because Honda is bigger, but still the experience you build up with racing for electronics is very important to bring this kind of evolution also on road bike. I don't think in this moment the lack of show, I think this is what you are missing, is related to the electronics. This is a little bit the legend of MotoGP. I personally believe that the lack of, one of the reasons why there's a kind of lack of a show is the performance of the tire. I mean, nowadays tires are too good to allow to have some show, because this tire can last for the whole race, very constant. It means if you have a couple of tenths of a second gap, it's impossible to close it. While if you have less performance tires, like in Superbike, then the tires drop down, then also the aliens like Casey, Jorge and Danny can do mistake, and then there is no show. Still, I didn't see, but they told me that the first two races of the last week race in Imola of Superbike was not so exciting. So it's, to have a show and to have riders that fight until the end, it's not so easy. It's a combination of things. For sure, the less level of motorcycle and tires you have, so the more easy is the package, the easier it is to have a battle. You see Moto2. Moto2 usually is more a fight more than MotoGP, but we need to find a compromise between technology, the best rider in the world, and show. So it's difficult. I understand.
So having said all that, why is the 2012 road-going Fireblade not got traction control?
Because the engine is so good that we don't need it.
Nice one.
Honestly speaking, Casey, I don't know if you never seen TV advertising that Honda Australia did last year with Casey on a Repsol on the CBR 1000. If you go on YouTube, I think you find it. And there's this circuit in Australia is a private circuit with Casey riding a CBR with the Repsol color, very nice. And Casey told me that he did this video and he was really enjoying the bike. And then he was sliding in a certain corner, and then he asked to the guys of Honda Australia, how good is the traction control this bike has? He said, in reality there isn't. So, but the bike is so smooth and that he believed that it was a traction control. Maybe probably it was the ride limiters, but that's Casey.
Anyone else? Any more questions?
Okay, then thank you very much. Everybody will come to the race on Sunday?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so see you there.